People think of the Northern Territory as like a desert, but like red.
Yeah, it's not. The Northern Territory is not like that at all. It's green. It's very green and bright. And to be honest, after crossing the border from the West Coast into the Northern Territory, it didn't take long for it to change to that at all. When I hit Litchfield National Park, which is like a few hours south of Darwin, and instantly trees everywhere, and not just like the kind of green that you see on trees in Queensland either, like a really light, vibrant green, and not what I was expecting it to look like at all, actually.
Here we are in the top end of Aussie land, Crocodile Country, a tropical paradise for a country that's known for being dominated by desert outback. We crossed the border into the Northern Territory yesterday from Western Australia, and since arriving, you can already tell how different the state is to the rest of the country. As you can see, everything here is extremely green, a complete contrast to the red sandy flats that we were driving through in Western Australia. We've entered the Northern Territory at the end of October, which marks the start of the wet season, so those bright greens are emphasised by higher temperatures and higher rainfall. We've actually got a storm rolling in at the moment, so I've got to be kind of quick. Over the next week, we're going to be discovering some of the best parts of the state together. That can be accessed via two-wheel drive, of course. Our first stop is Litchfield National Park, which is around 2 hours south of Darwin. We're going to be camping here tonight at Wangi Falls. We're going to be visiting a lot of places over the next week, so I'll drop all of the information about each location in the description below. Anyway, enough chit-chat, let's start exploring. So we're in the Northern Territory during the rainy season, as you can tell. We were just walking out to a waterfall in Litchfield National Park, and we suddenly got rained on. It just came out of nowhere. Hopefully we don't get completely rained in. And after a short 2-hour drive north, we have arrived in the city of Darwin, Australia's capital of the Northern Territory. There are plenty of British people here who have all flooded to the NT due to the outstanding nightlife and the lack of COVID restrictions. It's basically like the Ibiza of Australia here. If you enjoy a boozy night out and sink in a few brewskis, then Darwin is definitely the place for you. There are plenty of awesome bars and clubs in Darwin. There are culture festivals, weekly food and craft markets. It's definitely worth a visit. Darwin is also considered to be the gateway to Southeast Asia for Australia and also holds many important industries for Australia's economy, such as offshore oil mining and tourism, of course. Having said that, even though Darwin is particularly popular with tourists, it's not actually that big of a city, with only 150,000 people living here permanently. There is plenty for us to do during our stay here, such as exploring Mindle Beach and the neighbouring resorts, crocodile cruises, or just watching the beautiful sunsets over the waterfront. We're just about to check into our hostel, which is the Youth Shack Backpackers, and after that, it's time to start exploring the city.
You see any crocodile?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah, they were. I mean, I saw them on a boat tour in Darwin, in Kakadu National Park. That was the only time that I saw them. I don't think I ever saw them wild, but yeah, they're terrifying.
Didn't wrestle?
A bit of water on the deck so don't fall in, otherwise we'll get bloody good video footage for Facebook. But as soon as she lifts that head up, it scares the shit out of me, hey? Come on.
The guy that was like doing the boat tour had like a chunk of meat on a stick and was just putting it over the edge of the boat, and then they would just come up and they'd look up at this meat and then they just like jump out of the water and just like, but like the noise of their jaws like slapping together, you just heard the power behind it.
We generally say 3 jumps, but she's a bit keen and I want to dance better. Get it, mate. A dozen lures hanging out of his gut. Parks had to come out, they pulled all the lures out, we thought that's it, we're screwed, we've lost him, he's not going to have anything to do with us. What's behind its eyes? There we go. Good work. Alright, Rainbow. Yes, you call it lumpy because those things above its valves are really big.
Following on from that terrifying footage that you just saw of those pesky crocs in the Adelaide River, here's some fun little crocodile facts for you. The crocs that you just saw are saltwater crocodiles, but they can also survive in freshwater, and they can grow up to 6 meters long. Their jaws have got over a ton of power behind them, and they sense vibrations in the water to hunt their prey. They can also hold their breath for up to half an hour underwater, so that makes them really difficult to see if the water's not clear. In a nutshell, these prehistoric killing machines will snap your bits right off. So always be careful if you're going swimming in the north, and pay attention to the signs that say that there's crocodiles in the water. Never ever go in those waters because you're not going to come back out again. So it turns out we're going to have to stay in Darwin a little bit longer than we intended due to some issues with our van. We've got some problems with the radiator which aren't going to be fixed until at least the middle of next week. So we've moved on from our loud and busy party hostel to a much quieter campsite where we're waiting and hoping that the van's going to be fixed up pretty soon. While we're waiting, why don't we go and check out Kakadu National Park, which, by the way, is the largest national park in all of Australia, spreading over 20,000 square kilometres. That's half the size of Switzerland. Let's go and check that out, shall we?
The Northern Territory was instantly completely different to anything that I'd seen in Australia. The nature there felt like it was alive and more noticeable around you. The flats of the west coast had morphed into cascading mountains and vast wetlands, but you didn't care because you felt like you were the first and last person to experience this really unique part of Australia. It felt like something that nobody had ever seen before.
Well, Kakadu was certainly impressive. Those stretching views over the wetlands was a real sight to behold. The national park is so huge and there's so much to do there. It took us almost 5 hours to drive from one side to the other. It's a real shame that we were visiting the park during the wet season because this leads to a lot of road closures, meaning a lot of the park is closed to visitors. However, what we've heard from locals is that the wet season is the best season, simply because the landscapes get that bright green vibrance that's almost non-existent during the dry season. The last couple of spots that we visited during our time in the NT were Edith Falls and Berry Springs in Mataranka, both excellent swimming spots and a perfect little refreshing break from the sweltering heat. It's been such an incredible experience here in the top end, and I think that we can all agree that this tropical wonderland is a stark contrast to the rest of Australia. Unfortunately, our time in the north is coming to an end as we're crossing the border into Queensland tomorrow. Make sure you join me on my journey through the north end of the east coast because it's going to be awesome. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and wherever you are, keep exploring.